I'm going to be talking about gender roles in marriage. And I will either unlock the world to you or make you really, really mad. Either way, all this and more on the Self-Evident Podcast. Welcome to the Self-Evident Podcast. You got Mike. There is no Massey today. He is out on the road doing ministry, doing what he is called to do. So I figure I'll hold down the fort. I'll do this. It's all good. So go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Get yourself some merch. Get a shirt. Get a book. We do have the book Church Liberated out. You can go to Amazon. Just search Church Liberated. You'll find it. And by all means, grab yourself a copy. I say it's pretty good. Then again, I worked on it, so it has to be good, right? So pick yourself up some. All that to be said, go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Check out what we got going on. Check for dates, events. We got the homeschool conventions coming up, so you will be able to see Self-Evident at those various locations. And all you families that you are homeschooling families, we've gotten to know you over the years, man. We get so excited to be able to see you guys and connect and rekindle relationship. We may only get to see you once a year, but it's awesome when we do. So get excited, get ready. He's got some new teachings that he's going to be doing this year. So fresh stuff for you. Also, be praying for us as we make the rounds across the nation. We're doing different things. We need your prayers. And at the risk of saying that cliche thing, we covet your prayers. We desire your prayers because ministry can be tough. It can be warfare. So we can use you guys. If you'd like to donate, by all means, feel free to go to theselfevidenttruth.com, click that donate button, or at least, the very least, which is so important, pray for us. Okay. I was having a conversation with my wife this morning, and we were talking about those situations. It is so funny. You take a small idea and you can really grow it to get a deep truth out of. And we were talking about decision making. And y'all probably know this event where you're trying to figure out what to eat. And the guy's like, "What do you want?" She's like, "I don't care." Because immediately you know how this conversation is going to go. You're going to try and get something out of her. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care. But then you suggest something. Well, I don't want to eat there. And then you have this long back and forth of trying to make a decision. And my wife has noticed that she'll say, "Well, what do you want to eat this week?" "I don't know." Now, some of you may say, "Dude, just man up and make the decision." Typically, I do. But there are times where it's just like, I don't want to have to make a decision. I have bandwidth for decision making. And sometimes I hit the end of that bandwidth and just you make the decision. And she understands this, and she and I got to talking. And one of the things that I noticed was there would be a lot of times where she would defer to me to make the decision. And I would not want her to defer to me. It's like, just make it. You can do this. I don't need to make this decision. And we got to talking, and I worded it this way, and it clicked for her. I said something to the effect of, "Your authority is the household." That's not a diminishment. That's a validation. Your authority is the household. So how we eat, what we eat, where's the direction of the household going in terms of what we focus on, what we prioritize? Heck, even the look of the house. How many times do you hear about the guy gets his little room, but the wife is going to design the rest? And I think there's something to that. There is an authority in a woman that is over her household, over her family. And I think one of the issues in today's world is that women have given that up. Not every woman, not overgeneralizing, Just saying, in general, I'm not overgeneralizing, I'm just generalizing. There's a difference, right? There are plenty of women who gave that up, said, I don't want to think about cooking and cleaning and all of that. And I get it, because it's the messaging of the world that demeans tasks or chores within the household setting. Oh, those are just house chores. You're out working at the business. Mind you, working at the soul-crushing, grind mill, fluorescent lighted, cubicle, brain rot-inducing, dead-end job for 30 years to provide for the family, right? To come home to the family. Now, both have their strengths and weaknesses. I'm getting off a little track. But think about, if the agency and the authority is in the wife for the household, she's not the one who's just coming along fully submitted and just puppy dog with the guy. And I was thinking about Genesis and how Genesis says one of the conditions of the wife will be she's always looking towards her husband. And I think that's something to note. How often my wife looks to me to make the decision, and I'm looking at her going, you can make it too. I don't want to have to think about that. Not that I can't, but I have bandwidth for other things. I trust you in this. And I think there's actually scriptural weight to this. And you should have seen how my wife lit up when I was like, your authority is the household. That puts it in a completely different perspective. You can make those decisions. You have that authority, right? Now, our vision, our alignment is for where God wants our family to go. But her authority in the household sphere helps gain towards that vision. And I likened it to, if you're on a ship, you have a captain and you have a first mate. Now, you don't come to the captain with every single little problem and issue, right? The first mate handles a lot of the problems and issues. You see it in well-running organizational structures where the CEO or whoever, they're not dealing with every little problem. Now, some of them want to invest themselves in the little problems and all that, but in reality, they usually have a right-hand person who is really good at handling issues and problems that come up in the day-to-day affairs. And they're making decisions that they are illuminated and directed by the vision or the mission of the organization. Now, let's go back to our captain and first mate. Mind you, a Christian household is not sailing under their own direction. They're sailing under the orders of the king. So I get my orders from the king, from Christ. Let's say it's my ship. He's given this ship to me. Says, you're in charge of it. Says, I want you to sail to this port in Africa. Well, okay. The king has told me where I'm supposed to sail. Now, the king doesn't tell me, so you're going to follow this jet stream and you're going to go to this current and you're going to leave on this day. Maybe he wants me to leave on a certain day. Otherwise, he's just like, you leave when you're ready. And I want to know you're in Africa because I have these things that I want your ship to do once you're in Africa. So first mate and I plot the course. Now, as the ship sets sail and we're on our way from orders from the king, if I divert and don't go to Africa and I go somewhere else, who hears it from the king? Me, the captain. Now, the first mate may get a little bit of a lashing verbally, but really all the responsibility is on the captain on where the ship is sailing. Is the ship going where the king wants the ship to go? So the first mate, knowing where we're headed, knowing the course that we're supposed to get to, the first mate also handles a lot of the day-to-day affairs on the ship. So the captain doesn't have to get involved because the captain is forward-minded. Is the responsibility is on the captain to make sure you get there. Now, it doesn't mean there isn't crossover. It doesn't mean that some decisions don't get made by the captain or by the first mate. Imagine the captain goes to sleep in his bunk. Should the first mate wake the captain up every time? Okay, do you want me to steer 2 degrees this way now? What about now? You want me 2 degrees that way? No, there's trust and authority that is imparted to the first mate to make those type of decisions as well. And when the first mate is resting, if there's a little problem, the captain can come and handle the issue, right? Well, sailor number 2 is not mopping the deck like they were supposed to. Captain has full authority and the ability to go, sailor number 2, you better get mopping the deck, or else your mother is going to be upset with you and I'm going to have to spank you, right? There is an overplay, but it's a helpmate. A wife is a helpmate, not one that just follows along and never allowed to make a decision. If the household runs that way, it becomes a very oppressive, dominating place, and things are out of whack, and it gets frustrating for both parties. Now I'm going to share my screen, so you're going to see the tunnel to infinitum, and we're going to read Proverbs 31. Are we on it? Yep. All right. So Proverbs 31. Just imagine now a woman with authority and read it with that context. An excellent wife who can find. Close that. For her worth is far above jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. If I trust my wife, I'll end up gaining. She does him good and not evil. I don't have to look behind me. I know she's doing well. All the days of her life, she looks for wool and flax. She looks for resources and works with her hands in delight. She's creating and producing. She is like merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is still night and gives food to her household. She doesn't ask her husband, okay, what do I need to make? What do you want? What ingredients should I put in? No, that her authority is, no, I really want to create this dish. I want to get these ingredients. I'm going to pull this here, and I'm going to make this beautiful food for my household. And portions to her maidens. So she's taking care of servants, of those who serve them, employees. Where are we at? She considers a field and buys it. From her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She senses that her gain is good. Her lamp does not go out at night. She stretches out her hands to the distaff, and her hands grasp the spindle. She works. She puts in effort. She uses tools. She extends her hand to the poor, and she stretches out her hands to the needy. She cares for others. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She protects them from the elements. She makes coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates. He's an outward-looking man. He's a leader. When he sits among the elders of the land, she makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies belts to the tradesmen. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she smiles at the future. She opens her mouth in wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and bless her, her husband also, and he praises her, saying, Many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her the product of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. In other words, she is not afraid to produce for her household. She's not afraid to take charge on the issues and things going on in the household. She knows that her family and the home that she is over is within her authority. So I think this is really important for both sides, for both men and women. Women, we as men love when we trust you with the household. Love when you're basically like, I got it. You go do what you need to do. I got this covered. There's something relieving in me when my wife is like, no, I handled this and this and this. Don't worry about it. Oh, thank goodness. And I'll never forget, I had a pair of young adults who the wife, she flat out said, I'm so grateful I'm not him. She said, I appreciate so much him because he's the one who stays up late at night, concerned with how is he going to earn money for us. And that's real. Any guy worth his salt takes it upon himself, as he should, to provide for his family, to earn for his family. Now, Proverbs 31 just showed that it's not that she doesn't earn, right? A wife can earn. A wife can produce. A wife can and should use her time well. But there's something within a guy where I got to keep going and I got to bring in the bacon for the family. So ladies, there's such a relief when you know your wife has it handled and she's moving forward on that. Guys, do you trust your wife? Because it can also be really easy for us to just take charge. And you'll even see these like alpha male things. They're like, you need to just decide everything for her. You know, the whole ordering for her. A woman wants to feel taken care of for sure. And there's a time and a place where you just take the reins and you do what you got to do. Because what she doesn't want is a guy who's always like, I don't know. What do you want? She wants a leader. You got to lead. You got to make... You got to make those decisions that are risky and you might be unsure of. How is it? Make the decision. Now, she's a helper and a counselor, right? So there's nothing wrong with sitting down with her and going, this is how I see things. What do you see in this? Okay? But at the same time, trust her. And so maybe it is putting the ball in her court and she sees something you don't see. I think there's extreme value for ladies recognizing the authority that Satan has tried to pull you away from. And think about that. What was the message for so long for women? Go out, get a career. You can do it all. You don't have to sacrifice anything. You need to be more like a man. And women's contentment, happiness, satisfaction have gone down decade over decade. And there's plenty of women who step out of the workforce because the biological clock is ticking. They wanted kids. They wanted a family. Why am I slaving away for 90 to 100 hours a week for this law firm that will replace me the next day after I leave? Am I going to sacrifice the best of my years for this nameless, soulless organization that doesn't actually care about me, only what I produce? I think a lot of women are hitting that point, especially those that are in my age bracket, 35 to 40, 45, who chased after that dream and now they're realizing, oh, I missed it. And that's got to be a hard position to take. And the lie that was seeded was, did God really say that marriage and home and children are what are going to make you happy? I'm not saying a woman can't get a job. I'm not saying she has to stay barefoot and pregnant in the kid. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, what are your priorities through life? And the lie that was sold to women was, you don't have authority in anything. So you got to go out and get that authority out in the world. Go grab your authority. Which means trying to fight in the man's realm. Okay? And that's where people are going to get mad. They're going to get mad about this. That's the whole gender thing. Yeah, I am kind of a traditionalist. And a lot of younger people, they desire the traditionalist route. They're going, wait a second, I saw all this fall apart. I saw you try it that way. It's not working. I think the traditionalism is a way to go. That's the trad wife, trad, chad movement, all of that. And I think there's importance to it, but of course, be careful of that pendulum swinging too far the other way. So maybe it's time for you as husband and wife, or even as boyfriend, girlfriend, to sit down and have discussions about, like, what does it look like for you to be helpmate, counselor, for me to be head like Christ, for you to have authority over the home, for you to have authority over the family life of beauty, right? And I really do think it's true. The man builds the house, but the woman makes it a home. The man can get the ingredients for the food, and there are some great men who are cooks. That's not what I'm saying. But, man, when my wife makes a meal and she sets it in front of me, it tastes better. There's just something about it. It truly has been cooked in love. And I think plenty of happy husbands who have a wife who provides in that way, they go, man, I love it when she makes food for me. It's awesome. So I know this is a shorter one because Massey and I aren't going off 40 different trails, but do something with this. I want you to just weigh it out. Are the two of you missing that authority structure or that priority focus, right? Ladies, are you afraid of making decisions? When in reality, you'll feel more agency and authority of making that decision, right? I think there's something to it. If my wife looked at me and said, this weekend we're going to the park, which she's been talking about, hey, we should go to the beach. I would love for her to say, hey, Saturday morning, 10 a.m., we're going to the beach. The kids need it. Okay. I may not even feel like it, but I'm going to do what you want to do because she's making that decision and she knows what's right for our family. So I invite you to do that. I encourage you to do it. Just talk about it. Just try it. And go back through Proverbs 31. Read it again. Does that seem like a woman who doesn't make any decisions, or does that seem like a woman who's making the decisions for her home, for her family, so her husband can be a man of influence out in the world? Try it on. All right. Well, I will see all y'all Friday. Love all you guys. Go to theselfevidenttruth.com. Get yourself some merch. Get a book. Go ahead, get a book. Let us know what you think. Leave a review. Love you guys.